Hey, there he is.
Hey, Dave.
How you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you? Good to meet you finally.
I'm doing great, thanks. So I was just explaining to everybody what Amplitude Brian May is, and so I'll just give a brief overview. And by the way, so IKMULTIMEDIA is a music software and music equipment, mobile interfaces, keyboards, and everything company. And one of the things that IK does is modeling hardware like guitar amps, effects boxes, studio gear in software that you can use inside your recording software, such as a digital audio workstation like Pro Tools, Cubase, Logic, and also on its own on a Mac and PC, or even on its own on an iPhone or an iPad. And so Amplitude's been very popular as a home for the official Fender and the official Ampeg, and also the Slash collection, the Hendrix collection, and now more recently the Brian May collection. And this is essentially a recreation of Brian May from Queen, his guitar rig, his Vox AC30 amp, custom amps that John Deacon made, and effects pedals and all that stuff. So I've been following Marc since actually our mutual friend John Fields told me about Marc, who has produced some music with Marc. We'll talk about that. And I was totally, like millions of other people, blown away by Marc's versions of Bohemian Rhapsody at the piano. And as a fellow musician myself, to me he's like the musician's musician, because he's excellent at singing all sorts of things, but definitely Queen. Like, there's no better. So much so that the movie Bohemian Rhapsody called upon Marc. We'll talk a bit about that as well, for his help singing, so that Rami could sound like Freddie Mercury, because no one sounds more like Freddie Mercury than Marc. So anyway, and I just want to say real quick that we'll be talking about the software. Marc did an incredible demonstration, which blew me away, and I'm really thrilled. It was beyond what I could imagine, but it's the best way to hear it in action is actually listening to Marc in his home studio, which he put up on his YouTube channel and also on his Facebook. So you could see him run through 5 different songs, Queen songs, where he's playing guitar. Normally you see him playing piano, so it's kind of a treat to see him play guitar through Amplitude Brian May, with the sounds that you get with the software, and him singing along. That doesn't come with the software. But anyway, so how are you doing, Marc?
Great. I'm actually loving the forced isolation, honestly. It's like an excuse to do exactly what I would probably be doing most of the time if it was up to me. Working from my studio, I'm finding like the days, there's not enough hours in the day. I like get up and make coffee in the morning, and by the time the sun's going down around 5, I'm like, oh man, I haven't even gotten outside yet. So I don't mind it too much. Cool.
Now, by the way, I forgot to mention, very important, at the end of this broadcast, I'm going to be giving away a copy, and I'm going to ask a special question relating to what we're talking about, a copy of Amplitude Brian May, which is also coincidentally on sale. And if you want to, we did a kind of a cool thing with Marc, where because he was so kind and we were so appreciative of taking his time. Of course, he has the time now because he's not touring and everything, to make the demo, but he has a special link as an affiliate that would actually benefit him as well if you click his link in his video. So go check out his video, and if you want to learn more about Brian May, that's a good way to do it. But so first, let's start from the beginning. So how did you get your start into music to begin with?
Well, I come from a pretty musical family, I guess, in the sense that my mom is the piano player, choir director at my dad's church. So my earliest musical memories would have been singing in church, or just like literally my mom playing Beethoven at night to put me and my siblings to sleep, and so I always had a stage available to me growing up if ever I needed it, and often even when I didn't want it. I just kind of, music is kind of where I felt like I fell in most naturally, even though I didn't necessarily have anyone telling me like keep going when I was super young, even though I was in piano lessons and later taught myself guitar. It was really in high school that I started realizing, oh, I've got something that might be worth developing, and my peers are telling me that I'm good at this. And but I had no dreams or designs on becoming a professional musician, because I grew up in just around the suburbs of Montreal. I honestly didn't know a single professional musician growing up. So I thought that was something that, you know, people who lived in a certain part of maybe the United States had the opportunity to do. And I didn't know that I had any inroads to do that. But I just knew that I love music, and I just was always doing music. So.
And then was your first band Down Here? You live in Canada, right?
I live in Nashville.
Oh, you live in Nashville, but you originally lived in Quebec.
Yeah, I grew up in Quebec around Montreal, but I've been in Nashville since 2001. And the reason I live in Nashville is because my band Down Here got signed to a record deal in 2001, and we decided that it was going to make a lot more sense for us to live in a central location rather than, you know, crossing the border every week. It would have been a huge pain. So, we made our home down here.
And so tell us a little bit about Down Here. How many albums did you put out? Albums, and were you the lead singer? Did you write the songs? What was that about? Yeah,
we put out like 8 or 9 records. We were together for a good 13, 14 years, and we got to the point where we owned our own bus, like full time. I've never had like a job other than being a musician, and we put out a bunch of music. I was a co-lead singer, actually. My fellow co-lead singer, we were the primary songwriters. You know, I'd write a song, then he'd write a song, and we'd kind of give each other's input in the studio and see what we could add to each other's music. And sometimes we'd write lines for each other. So it was a real partnership. And what was the other part of the question? Well, okay, so I think you answered the question, but so you toured, you had your own bus, you put out 8 to 9 albums, and also, because I'm not familiar with the music, was it in any way like Queen at all, or classic rock? What was the style like? The style was, we used to always call it modern rock. It's Jason, my co-lead singer, and I, we came from kind of different musical influences and kind of came together and kind of came up with something I think is fairly its own sound. He came from a more like folksy Eastern Canadian, almost Celtic influence, and I came from a more mainstream pop, 90s alternative rock. And when that came together, it was pretty eclectic, honestly. Like, our music was, you know, we kind of stepped outside of the diatonic on a fairly regular basis. It wasn't prog in any way. Like, we weren't like experimenting with time signatures or anything like that. But a lot of harmony. Like, we would harmonize to each other. He has a very distinct baritone husky thing going on, and obviously I would take the high harmony and he would take the low harmony, and we'd kind of play around like that. And and we were just playing full time all over North America, and often toured Europe. And we made a really solid go at it. And then how did you end up sort of getting into the whole world of Queen? What was the first thing that sort of kicked that off? My bass player, Glenn, was the huge Queen fan. The first Queen fan, really, that I ever became really good friends with. And in the early 2000s, I was still kind of shaking off my Eddie Vedder influence in my voice, because, you know, everyone was doing that. And I thought, oh man, I just love Eddie Vedder's voice so much. I was like, I'm the hugest Pearl Jam fan. And so that kind of naturally showed up. If you listen to like early recordings of Down Here, you can hear that I'm still kind of struggling with my vocal identity. And my good friend and bass player, Glenn, who knew what I sounded like when I was just singing naturally, he was like, you know, when you just are yourself, you sound a lot like Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of Queen. I'm like, Yeah, I know. Like I know a little bit about Queen. They're like the Bohemian Rhapsody guys, and We Will Rock You, We're the Champions. And he said you really need to like get into their deeper stuff because I think you'll learn so much. And I was like, okay, I'll get the greatest hits record. And so rediscovered Bohemian Rhapsody. This is like 2003. I actually fell in love with Bohemian Rhapsody so much that I re-recorded the whole thing in my bedroom studio. And I've never released it, and I'm considering releasing it sometime just to give people something to laugh at and see how far I've come since. But it was a huge musical education just re-recording Bohemian Rhapsody, and kind of fell in love with Queen's, at least their greatest hits catalog. But I didn't think it would come to anything more than getting a complimentary beverage at karaoke every now and then. And it's not like Down Here was ever playing Queen. We were playing original music, and we kind of scoffed at doing covers and stuff. Like it was all about our own music. And then in 2011, as many people know the story, Roger Taylor decided he was going to start his own tribute band to his own band. And I first heard about it, and my immediate reaction was like, well, I'm not interested in pretending to be someone. And then I read the fine print of this audition he was holding, and he said, we don't want you to be anyone in the band. You're going to be yourself on stage. We're just going to make a big, huge show that is the most faithful reproduction of the music. And I thought, oh, that could be fun, having a tie to the actual band who's creating the music. And I was really interested in that from an artistic point of view. And so I thought, oh man, that's so crazy. What if I get to sing in front of Roger Taylor? And I can't imagine how that would be for him and me, just having a weird connection. And sure enough, I make it to the final audition, which was held at the Foo Fighters studio in Los Angeles. And I got to meet Roger, and I think Jim Beach was there, the manager, and got to sing for him in person, Miami Beach. Yeah, it's funny because I was in the tracking room and he was in the control room listening to the band play for the first time, and it's just fun for me to watch the footage that they got from that day of him just like listening intently and just kind of having like a quiet, so cool, reaction to it. So yeah, that's how I got into Queen. Obviously, I was hired to be in Roger Taylor's band, the Queen Extravaganza, and now I've got my own band called the Ultimate Queen Celebration. And that name changes every now and then even, but I'm still doing a lot of Queen.
Now, that's fantastic. And so normally, would you be touring right now if this pandemic wasn't happening?
You bet your keister. We have postponed everything from April, May. It's going to look like June as well. I think... I don't know that I'll be playing a show before like mid-July or something. I don't know if it's kind of too early to tell yet, but man, it's really, well, we're all in the same boat, touring musicians. It's a new normal for now. And hopefully most of us are dealing with it okay and have some savings set aside because it's not easy. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, there's some, stimulus relief, I think, that touring musicians can apply for and all that. But yeah, there's definitely a shift. And of course, you were saying earlier that you are making good use of being home. You have a chance to work in the studio. Why don't you tell us a bit about your home studio setup? What do you have there? Well, I didn't really clean up, but I can actually show you, turn around and... let's see here. I'm back. Okay. So I hope there's nothing on here that shouldn't be shown. But anyway, I've got a little bit of outboard gear, distressor. My main I/O is a Fireface UFX. And I've got, I'm all in the box. Even you see my amps back there. They haven't really seen any action for years. Pretty much in the box, even for guitar. So that's why I'm having so much fun with Amplitude, which I may have mentioned already that I've been using that pretty much since it came out. and also Sample Tank has been a huge part of my workflow. But yeah, I've got a few mics I use. I've got the Slate virtual mic. I've got the Shure stuff. I've got DPA. DPA has been really, really great with me recently. I'm going to do another thing for them. Yeah, and I've got my live performance spot over there with my my grand piano, digital grand piano hybrid, which was a gift given to me a couple of years ago by a very generous person. And
Nice.
And my wife has made it look like not a bachelor pad in here, so she's been super helpful in the visual aesthetics of the whole thing. What else? You know,
Yeah, that looks great.
pretty standard studio setup. It's cozy. I love it in here. I spend a lot of time in here.
Mm-hmm. What DAW do you use?
Pro Tools. I've been Pro Tools since I actually learned on Pro Tools in college. I took a recording class. Actually with Jason, my co-lead singer, and down here. That's kind of how we connected a little bit. But yeah, we started learning Pro Tools when it was brand new. And I tried Logic a couple times, and I'm like, I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. But I know a lot of people love it. But yeah, Pro Tools is for me.
Yeah, same here. I have Logic. I have it. I bought it, and I'm like, I'm gonna use it. A lot of my friends use it. But I'm just, I think it's once you learn a DAW and you're sort of just used to it.
Yeah.
It's like you need to get the music done and you don't have time.
Absolutely. There's too many distractions, even in software that you already know how to use, when there's so many endless presets to choose from, and that's just stuff you know how to use. Never mind trying to learn a whole new language to get creativity.
So what do you, if you can tell us, what have you been working on in this isolation?
I've been working on some online content for YouTube. I've got a new video that is a nod to George Michael coming out next week. I've been actually writing new songs. I've got 2 in the bag and like 3 or 4 new ideas going, which is awesome for me because the last 2 years I've been touring so hard that just haven't had time to write any material whatsoever. And I can't write on the road at all. I know some guys can do that who are super disciplined, but I feel like on the road I'm kind of in survival mode and I just can't concentrate on anything else but getting ready for the next show and making sure my voice is rested and all that stuff. But what else, man? We've got a live record that we're just releasing. It's getting mastered today, actually. It's live. It's the Ultimate Queen Celebration live from Auckland, New Zealand, which should be out in just a few days. It's our first live Queen thing that we've done, and I think people will really dig that. Sounds pretty awesome. And what else am I working on? I'm recording. I'm just going to start recording for my next Christmas EP. So, trying to figure out songs that I haven't recorded yet because I've recorded a lot of Christmas stuff, and it's kind of getting down to maybe lesser known songs because I've kind of recorded all the stuff I like already, or most of it. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely no shortage of work, even though I'm off the road. My manager, Josh, is super great at keeping me in line, keeping me focused on stuff that needs to be done. Like I will often get distracted. Like last night, or 2 nights ago, I opened up a live recording from this Germany tour we just finished, and I started mixing it. I was like, oh man, I just love mixing. I wish I was a mixing engineer, but I don't have time. And it's so yeah, it's I'm having a lot of fun, honestly.
That's good. That's good. And and talking about, let's say, writing and your solo career. So first of all, you did an EP with John Fields.
Yeah.
Right. How was that, and how did you meet him?
I did a whole record with John Fields. It's my my one kind of full length solo record. It's called Impersonator. Little tongue in cheek action there going on, but it was. I think it came out in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. And John had done a record with an artist named Dave Barnes. Sorry, I was blanking there for a sec. Dave Barnes, who He's an artist who we had the same manager at the time, and so that's how I got the John Fields hookup. And so I actually flew to LA a bunch of times to do the record, and it was one of the most fun experiences as far as recording, because we were writing a lot of the record while we were recording it. I came with a few songs. I think there was 3 or 4 songs on the record that I had already written myself. But for the rest of the record, I would come in, John would start a track, he'd get a track going, and I know a lot of people write this way, but this was the first time I'd ever done this, and he's such a wizard on Pro Tools. He's so fast. He knows which sounds to go to, how to get something that's in my head. I want it to sound like this. He's like, I know exactly. Let's go to the control room and set up a vintage keyboard, whatever. Got 2 drum kits set up, and he would bring in a top liner to come and make sure the lyrics were coming quicker. And so I would work with the top liner on the song itself while he was preparing. He was in the same room working on the track, and it was such a blast. The guy's such a fun hang. He's got great stories, and he's also a huge Queen fan and loves working with vocalists, and has worked with so many great vocalists, pop singers, rock singers, and got to do another song with him on my most recent EP, Thunderbolt and Lightning. We did Somebody to Love together. So Somebody to Love was produced by him. And so yeah, making that record was so much fun. I hope to do another solo record sometime in the near future. So that's what I'm starting to write again. We'll see. I don't know what the next direction for my sound is, honestly, because I love doing so many different with the Christmas stuff. I love doing kind of the jazzy crooner type stuff. So maybe there's a little bit of that. I don't know. Maybe, but I've always been a rock guy, and I think there'll always be that element.
Great. And you also had success with a song with Amy Grant. It went to #1 on the Billboard charts.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
Really cool. I mean, I lived in Nashville for 20 years now, and Amy Grant and also Michael W. Smith, who was the other artist on that song. I grew up with their music, and it's just insane. You would have, I would not have believed you as a kid if you said, one day you're going to record with Amy Grant and Michael W. Smith, and the song's going to go #1. What? That is insane. And to go on tour with them after that, to follow up on the single. Well, actually, the tour came first, and we decided to make the single in support of the tour. So it was Silver Bells, which is available everywhere. And yeah, sure enough, it's my first #1 that I've ever had in my whole career. I've come close a few times, but yeah, that was really amazing to record with them. And I've known Michael W. Smith for a while. Actually, my old band Down Here went on tour with him 10 years ago, and that was the tour that I met my wife on. So it all kind of comes back full circle. I met Amy Grant years ago, but I didn't really know her, and so I got to know her a lot better. And they're just such great people, of course. And it's really kind of living the dream, man.
That's great. I'm really happy for you. I mean, it's so well deserved. Your success matching the talent that you have. I'm gonna. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Amplitude itself, and then maybe Marc can give some of his impressions. I'm going to show people a little bit about what's going on online that they could see, and then we'll open up for some questions from you guys if you have some questions for Marc, and then I will be giving away Amplitude. Of course, it should go to a musician because it's not something that you can't really do anything with it unless you play guitar. But all right, so I'm going to flip my screen here. Okay, so this is the IQ Multimedia website, IKMULTIMEDIA.com. And if you go to the Brian May page, which, all right, there we go. And actually there's info and there's the gear. I'll briefly just tell you what's comes with it. You get 5 different stomp boxes, including a recreation of the guitar pickups, and then you get the cabinets and the amps. The main amp is an AC30. This is something that you can see what it looks like there. And this is a recreation of his vintage Vox AC30 amp, which is the main amp that Brian May uses. And then if you go over to the video section here, you see some videos with Brian May, and look what we have here. We have Marc's video, which is embedded from his own YouTube channel. Let's see. And do we have audio? Okay, we don't have audio. Anyway, so if you watch his video, he goes through several different songs here. So let me ask you, so Now I'm Here is one of them. And there's, let's see what else we got here. Well, One Vision, Bohemian Rhapsody, We Will Rock You. So tell me, first of all, what was it like doing a demo or a video of Queen music playing guitar for a change? Because you normally play piano. How was that for you?
It was so fun. Like I was the, if you can believe it, the primary guitarist in my band down here, which is kind of weird for me to say out loud because I'm a decent rhythm player and I don't love doing solos because I'm super slow hand. So yeah, and I'd never really played a lot of those songs ever on electric guitar. Like, and honestly, like I haven't been playing electric guitar for kind of years now. So I had to kind of like learn some of those because I'd never even played them on acoustic guitar even. But you know, I love playing that riff from Now I'm Here, that main riff down, and luckily you don't have to sing while that riff is going on because that would have been really challenging. But yeah, it was super fun. I've shared the stage doing this Queen stuff with some real virtuosos, Tristan Avakian especially, who plays Brian May like I'd be willing to bet there's no one in the world that plays Brian May the way that he does. He's such a brilliant artist who just has been playing Queen so long and knows Brian personally, but he's been playing Queen so long that he's able to do for Brian what I can do with Freddie, you know. So it's just a pleasure sharing the stage with a guy like that, who I think you guys have been in touch with him with your iRig. Is that?
Yeah, he uses iRig and also Amplitude Brian May.
Yeah, oh, he has it too. Okay, good. And yeah, we had been talking a little bit about doing a video together to talk about IK stuff, but you know, the situation is we can't be together right now. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I never planned, when you asked me the first time you asked me, hey, it'd be really cool if you like made a video of you playing some Queen stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. I'm not much of a guitar player these days. But you know, when I finally got a hold of the software and I opened it up and it looks so slick. You know, the representation, the visual, the graphic, the UI of Brian's amps and just the way you guys have got everything set up. It was just so fun. I started clicking around and I looked at the presets and I was like, oh my gosh, like, it was the very first radio hit they ever had. I was told a million times of all the troubles in my way. It's one of the presets. Anyway, I can't think of the song title right. Oh, Keep Yourself Alive.
Yeah.
When I saw that one, I was like, oh, they went deep on this. Like that. No one in America knows that song. I mean, it was a hit like overseas, but and obviously that song has a very specific kind of chorusy tone to it. And I opened it up. I'm like, yeah, there it is. And started going down the list. And then I saw that you guys have the live rigs, both from the 80s and the current stuff. And I was like, oh man, this is really cool. They thought of everything. They didn't just do the recordings, but also the live rigs. And the live rig sounds just so open and monstrous, just like Brian does live, you know. And so that when I'd gone through a few of the presets, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a day and do this video and see. Actually, I took 2 days to do it. It took a whole weekend to make the video, but I had like a huge blast doing it.
That's great. And I really love that you took a snippet from your very, very popular Bohemian Rhapsody at the piano video, and then you overdubbed guitar over that. That was must have been fun.
Yeah, that idea kind of came immediately. As soon as I started making the video, I was like, okay, I'm going to do Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh, I've already got a bed track for it. Okay, great. So I actually had to slow the video down a little bit because I played it fast. So I slowed it down to pretty much the regular tempo so that I could get all those. And, but yeah, it was so fun.
And then I guess you already had the stomps and claps for "We Will Rock You."
No, I just made that. I made that on the fly with some That Sound. Have you heard of that Sound guys? They're based out of Nashville. They make samples, and I just pulled them into to the DAW, and away I went.
Wow. Yeah, and you look like you were having fun playing that song, the riff. It sounds great.
Yeah, I had to put lighter strings on because I usually play electric with 11s on, and Brian plays with 9s or 9.5s. And I didn't have any 9s. I put 10s on there just so I could get those bends. But, man, it was pretty painful, but I finally got it.
Cool, man. All right, so let's open up and see. Let's try this, if we can get some questions from the audience here. If you have anything you want to ask Marc, and I have my cohort off-screen, Peter Torriello, who's also going to help pick a winner. I'm going to ask a question based on this broadcast in a minute, but let's see. Peter's going to pick a question for me from the one's zipping by. So what you got? We're going to wait here, I guess, for a second. Or maybe we'll talk while this is happening. So let's see. Okay. Okay. While we're waiting for a question to come in, so Peter's going to pick a question. Obviously, there are a lot of questions I see of, are you coming to this place? Are you coming to that place? And then there's very specific because they're talking about their place. And of course, right now we're all wondering, are any of us, because I just was going to not tour, but play on a cruise with Yes called Cruise to the Edge. And that was just canceled. That was like something that happens. I've done like the last 5 cruises with them. It's progressive rock. Yeah. And that was canceled. So I was really looking forward to that. And it's postponed. So when it's going to be rescheduled, I don't know. And I guess, as Marc was saying, he doesn't know either. Maybe mid-July, but it kind of depends. We're sort of going day to day, aren't we?
Yeah.
To see what's...
who knows? It could all change in a weekend and everyone's back to work and we're like scrambling to get shows for June. Who knows? Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So we're getting questions. Well, if anybody has a question other than, are you going to Spain or any specific place? Listen, we want to go to all the places, and we can only be in one place at once. So, yes.
I did see one question. I think, let me see if I can, do you think you'll do any more videos with you playing guitar and playing piano like Bo Rap?
That specifically, I mean, I'd have to come up with a very specific idea. I don't have anything going on in my head right now as far as me playing guitar accompanying something else. I don't know. Maybe I can do this for my other one-take Queen songs like Killer Queen and We Are the Champions. Not a bad idea.
Cool. Well, there you go. See, you influenced the idea. Okay. Any other questions? People really want to see you all over the world, Marc. So certainly, for every
especially
great
Brazil.
touring musician, Brazil. Have you ever played in Brazil before?
Well, actually, Brazil is one of the tours we had to postpone. We were supposed to go for the first time. We will be, just not when we were supposed to.
Oh, there's a great question that just came in. It's one that I wanted to ask, so I'm very thankful that it was brought up. Okay, so how did it go, if you're able to talk about it, where you got to work on the film, Bohemian Rhapsody, singing? What was that all about?
What can I say about that? That doesn't violate the non-disclosure. I mean, I think it's pretty common knowledge that it was done at Abbey Road Studios, which that alone, I mean, come on, that's amazing. And so, I mean, yeah, I was brought in to record some vocals to be in the mix of Rami and Freddie, and so that people couldn't tell when the voice changed. I mean, obviously the goal was to create an immersive experience, and they had, top tier mixing, recording engineers, producers on the job, who I got to spend a couple 2 to 3 weeks with, all told. I went over there 3 times. 2 times were at Abbey Road, and the last time was what do they call that? Post-production, whatever the special word is for that, when you come in after the movie's filmed and kind of fix stuff. So yeah, that was a unique experience. That was a first for me, being able to work on a movie. I will never forget it. I got to meet and hang out with most, if not the main cast anyway. I got to spend quite a bit of time with Rami and a little bit of time with Lucy, and even got to hang out with the guys that played the other members of the band, and went out, had a few drinks one night. That was a blast. But yeah, as far as doing the work itself, it was work. We'd be in the studio 8 hours a day, just kind of recording stuff and trying to get it just right, as close to the original as possible. And then where we didn't have an original thing to kind of mimic, we had to get creative and try to figure out how would Freddie do this. So we had a lot of people in the room that would have the best idea of how Freddie would have done something, and so that was a lot of fun.
Great. And what did you think of the movie in the end?
That was such a blast. I mean, so fun to watch, especially knowing that the movie itself was such a passion project in the most literal sense. I mean, everyone involved was so holding it just so, it was, everyone knew they were privileged to be there, and down to the producers, the screenwriters, and watching it for the first time for me was actually a strange experience. And I got to say, I didn't get to really enjoy the movie the first time because, listen, I've never been in a movie before, and all I could do was wait for the next time I was going to hear my voice, which I didn't know. I had no idea where they were going to use me, where they didn't. And
did you tell?
I can tell, of course, immediately. I spent a lot of time working on that thing, and so. But I was watching it with my wife and my manager, Josh, just the 3 of us in the theater. And every time there was a singing part, Josh would look over at me and he'd go, and it was really funny. He couldn't even tell. My wife couldn't even tell. So hats off to the sound production team for that movie, because, people are really believing that Rami Malek is Freddie Mercury, and that's the goal. Mission accomplished. But the second time I got to watch the movie, we invited like 80 of our friends and rented out a whole theater in town here and watched it together. And that was the moment that I really got to just sit and enjoy what a great piece of work it is. Amazing.
All right, so let's see. We got some more questions that came in here. Peter's helped me out. So, okay. What's your favorite song from your band down here?
I might have to today at 4 p.m. or 3:39 p.m. have to go with, it's a tie between Cathedral Made of People and My Last Amen. But I also really love Jason's song, A Better Way. That's up there too. So I've got a top 3, I guess.
What's your favorite preset on Brian May Amplitude Brian May?
I guess it would have to be one that's more multi-use. I do love the what's it called, 2019 Live Rig. Yeah, that one's super useful and huge sounding, and pretty much you can pretty much play Queen on that sound for any song and it sounds like Queen.
That's cool. What's your okay? Let's see. Okay, all right. What was your worst experience on stage?
I've fallen over on my back twice, I think. so that's never fun. But at the same time, I love those experiences, or it's just kind of, it's memorable and people get a good laugh. I actually fell flat on my back last year, and I hadn't fallen in probably 15 years. I was in the middle of Hammer to Fall, and someone actually captured it on their phone and posted online, and people, you can find it if you look for it. In Hammer to Fall, I do this thing I've been doing for a few years now, where every time the snare drum hits, I kind of hit my knee like a hammer falling. See what I did there? Anyway, so one day I was wearing shoes. Oh, this is what happened. My bags hadn't arrived because they got lost with the airline, so I had to wear my everyday shoes on stage, which are a lot slipperier. And so my knee came up, and before I knew it, I was flat on the ground. And I was like, what just happened? And I didn't even hurt myself. I was like, if I could do that knowing I wouldn't hurt myself, I would pull that out at parties every time. It was hilarious. But worst experience on stage? Oh, I mean, forgetting your lyrics is never fun. This one time, this huge buff dude, this was actually a year and a half ago in Miami. This huge buff dude came on stage. He was blasted out of his mind. And if he wasn't a huge buff dude, it would have been hilarious. But I was at the edge of the stage singing, I don't know what song it was, and this guy kind of like snuck through security, somehow got on stage and walked and sat at the piano. And all of a sudden I start hearing piano in my in-ears. I'm like, what's going on? I look back, and there's this like big, huge bodybuilder who's like he's probably about 30 years old. And he's got his shirt off, and he's sweaty, and you can tell he's been drinking a lot. And I'm like, how do I handle this? So I went up to the guy and was just like, hey man, take a hike. What are you doing here? And he's like, I don't know, just goofing off. And thankfully he left without any fight. But man, I was thinking, what if he had gotten aggressive? That could have really sucked. Anyway, that's what I got for now.
Oh, okay. If you weren't a musician, what would be your dream job?
I would probably, I imagine, be like a graphics designer. I imagine I would have gone to school for graphics and art. And I used to really, really love drawing. I still do. I just don't have much time for it anymore. But I love any chance I get to create a thumbnail for my videos, or I even get to work on some of my own album covers. So when I have time for it. But yeah, I love doing that sort of thing.
That's cool. And actually, I find it kind of really interesting, as I've met a lot of musicians, as I'm sure you have, and how there's like a common sort of a mix of artistic, creative abilities or talents or skills, singers that draw, and, songwriters that do other creative things with graphics or film, or, it's kind of interesting how that pairs up.
Yeah, it's a common pairing of interests, I think. True artists.
Actually, I would say it's great these days when you can use multiple skills, because we live in a very DIY world.
Absolutely.
So when you can do your own album cover, not only is it fun, but you're also kind of like, keeping it within a certain independent realm.
Yeah.
Like I edit my own music videos. I'm not the only one, but I can. I've learned the skills of Photoshop. It's very handy. All right. So
especially questions. With Amplitude Brian May around here, you can imagine trying to replicate a Brian May tone back in the day before guitar modeling. That would have been very expensive.
Well, I actually bought a real AC30, like a vintage one. It cost thousands of dollars. I haven't sold it because there is something about the real stuff, even though I'm like, I haven't actually touched it in a while. But yeah, you're right. I think just first of all, back in the day, we all had to record on reel-to-reels and ADATs, and it was quite expensive to buy. And now it's amazing that people can record an album with GarageBand in their computer or on their iPad. It's easy to take that stuff for granted, but it is definitely enabling people to, and especially in this time, to make music if they're a musician or if they're learning or they're a professional. We have all those tools, including Amplitude Brian May. All right, so I want to get to more questions because these are good. And this is really important. Are your cats enjoying you being home?
They're loving it. It's funny how they are developing new habits since I'm home. Every night when I'm working late in the studio, like past 10 p.m., I got 2 cats. I've got a black one and a tabby. And it's almost like they take turns every night. One gets on my lap, and then the next night the other one gets on my lap for the remainder of the day before I go to bed. And yeah, I miss them when I'm on the road.
All right. And what song would you love to perform live but haven't? I recently attempted to perform on my most recent Facebook Live. I tried to do "Spread Your Wings" by Queen without having rehearsed it at all. And it's a song I love, but it's not a song that I've ever learned. And I thought, let's see how far I got on it. I got about 4 lines in, and I was like, well, that's all I got. So that is a song of theirs that I love that I would love to put in our set someday. Non-Queen song, I mean, where do you start? I don't know. Any huge, big vocal song that would give me a challenge. And what other rock bands do you like besides Queen?
Queen and Pearl Jam. Radiohead. Actually, Pearl Jam had to postpone their show here in Nashville, and they're one of my bucket list bands, which I haven't seen yet. Radiohead and Pearl Jam. I would love to do Paranoid Android. I mean, I love playing that song in soundcheck, but we've never performed it in front of anyone.
That would be cool. Of course, I've heard rave reviews, and I actually look forward to seeing your show myself for the Ultimate Queen celebration with you in the front. It's many people just say that is, you close your eyes and
well, the nice thing is that people have got options. You can hear what Queen want to be in 2020, and you can hear what Queen sounded like through most of their career if you come to our show. So you can get both experiences, and I think that's great.
That is great. I agree. That's a great way to put it, too. All right. So the time has come to give away this software that Marc loves so much and Tristan loves and many guitar players love, Amplitude Brian May. And here's how we're going to do it. So wait till I'm done with the whole thing and then answer these 2 questions in one. Okay? And one question, the first part of the question is, what is the name of Brian May's main amp? We said it in the broadcast. It's a vintage amp from the UK. That's all I'll say. And the second is, say one song that's in Marc's, one Queen song that's in Marc's video. So if you haven't seen his video, you got to go to Marc's YouTube channel. I don't know if you'll have time to do it now. We did show them. One of them, to give you a hint, it could be any of them, is, let's say, one of the songs is his most popular video with 36+ million views. So that should be easy. And now if you name the amp, see, somebody has already named the amp correctly, but in your answer, the person who named it correctly, put both. Put a name of a Queen song, one of the 5 songs in his demo, and the name of the amp. And Peter is going to just pick somebody randomly. Okay? Got to mention both. Oopsie. So, okay, Super, Warlock. It's not up to me. It's up to Peter. But you are correct. That's a correct answer. Well, okay. You know what? The DC amp, by the way, is not his main amp, but that would qualify, and you get extra points from me, just brownie points or whatever, because the other amp that's in there was made by John Deacon out of an old radio. It's really cool.
This I didn't even know. That's really cool.
Yeah. Isn't that neat? So there's some custom gear in there. And then, all right, let's see. And I'm going to hear a little ding noise from my Skype with Peter, who's joining me any minute. In the meantime, I'm going to actually flip the camera here. So like these are the pedals that are in there. There's a really cool top boost pedal. That's actually what I got, the custom one. There's a Fox phaser and a gate, and then these are the amps. That's the DQ one, made out of an old radio. And then this is the something 30, isn't it? Yeah, good. We're getting some right answers here. That's good. And then the cabinets, which are the AC30 cabinets. And there's some rack gear, and you also get microphones. It's pretty cool. All right. Let's see. Peter, do we have a winner? Super Warlock Ringer is the winner. Congratulations.
She got it. Yeah.
All right, man. All right, so just PM us and we'll get your info. Super Warlock. That's a cool name too. Oh, it's Super Warlock. Well, either way, it's good. And congratulations to you. So anyway, thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Marc. That was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And everybody, remember to go to marcmartelmusic.com to check out Marc's music. Go to his Facebook page or his YouTube page and check out this awesome video that he did. If you click the link in his video, you will go to the Brian May page on the IK Multimedia website. And as I mentioned earlier, it's normally $99, and it's just went on sale today, coincidentally, for $69. So... and also the other thing to mention, by the way, is you don't have to buy it. You can actually try it for, I think, 14 days for free. So you might as well just go on there and try it out if you're a guitar player and just have some fun with it. And if you fall in love with it, then you can buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so not to change the subject, but I'm going to change the subject. When are you? How long have you been playing with Yes?
Well, actually, I do play with Yes, but the people from Yes, but I have my own solo band, Dave Kersner Band.
Oh, okay.
And they guest with me.
Okay.
And then on this cruise, so like Jeff Downs, Billy Sherwood, and John Davison also play the lead singer, who does a similar kind of thing where he sounds like John Anderson, and he has the role as the lead singer of. So I work with him a lot. And but Cruise to the Edge, they're fun, and so Yes hosts it. And then it's called Cruise to the Edge, like I can play on their Close to the Edge. Yeah. And then they've had bands like Kansas and Steve Hackett from Genesis, and all sorts of different progressive rock bands. Neil Morse Band, Mike Portnoy, and
I know Neil. He's a good guy.
Yeah, isn't he in Nashville?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So, and I love all those guys, and we see each other, and it's just like a thing. It's once a year, and then they have another one called Monsters of Rock, and
yeah.
And then there's actually another one that got canceled or postponed that was after that called On the Blue. It used to be the Moody Blues Cruise. Okay. And it's a bit more like Alan Parsons Project and some of the Ambrosia, Dave Pack, and that kind of stuff. But that's fun too.
Cool. So you know Alan White? Does he do that thing? The cruise?
Yeah, Alan's there. And Jay Schelling does sort of the heavy lifting now, and Alan's sort of there, plays on a few tracks. He's a little bit like age and health, and just doesn't overdo it, but he's there. And Steve Howe is there and everything. I don't know Steve Howe. Steve Howe's the only one that I'm not actually, like, I said maybe a few words to, and I was very careful not to,
monopolize.
I'm a huge fan. You know what I mean? Like, but
I did a private gig with.
Yes.
I did a private gig a few years ago with Alan White and Sammy Hagar. I don't think either of them would remember me, but every time someone mentions Yes, I'm like, oh yeah, do you know Alan White? Yeah, I've met him. I
wouldn't be surprised. So what did you do? What songs did you play?
I played Roundabout. And what's their big song?
Honorable Lonely Heart?
Honorable Lonely Heart, yeah. Did those two, and I was vaguely aware of, I did not grow up listening to cool music, let's be honest, but cool. I was vaguely aware of Honorable Lonely Heart, and I didn't know that was even a prog song. Then I listened to it with musicians' ears, and I was like, oh yeah, that is so complicated. Oh my gosh! But yet sounds like a pop song. It's weird.
Yeah, it's brilliant. That's a brilliant album, actually. Trevor Horn produced it, and yeah, I agree. We did a Yes tribute album, and we did this thing where it's sort of like the Roger Taylor thing, where members of Yes are participating in it. It's called Yesterday and Today, and then modern artists. So it was like a mix. I'll send it to you. You'll like it. It's like Yes, and then it's also extending it a little beyond with the modern touch.
All right. No, I always thought Roger Tayller was the first one to start his own tribute band to his own band, but maybe Yes beat him to it. I don't know.
Well, it was our idea. Fernando Perdomo, my partner, and
I got you.
Being friends with them, but they were all over it, and I think I like to do that kind of stuff. It's fun. I did that with Rush. We did a sample library. It's actually for Sample Tank. I don't know if you saw it with Neil Peart, and it was him actually playing, and then after I had that, I was like, and we did the same thing with Nick Mason from Pink Floyd. I'm like, we got to make a Pink Floyd tribute. We got to make a Rush tribute with the drums and the sounds and stuff.
Oh man,
so I think that's cool. And it's a similar thing in a way. That Tristan and you have Amplitude Brian May. Certainly, if you're doing anything, whether it's let's say Queen related or not Queen related,
exactly,
the element. The sound of it, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to use this in a completely different style or a different song.
Different context.
And it's kind of fun to do that, yeah. All right, man. Well, this was a killer time in the broadcast. We're actually approaching the limit of Instagram. But
we're about to run out of time.
All right. Take care, man.
All right, dude. Take care, Dave.
Bye.